This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
You have a rich person's name. Like, you should be a billionaire with the name Winfield. Anyway, call me back, bro.
If it was only that easy, man. If it was only that easy. It is the 15th of June, 2021. My name is Corey Winfield. Thanks for joining the 217 Recovery Podcast, listening in. And I'm excited, man. Some big things coming up next month. Football's back. And, well, sort of. At least they report to training camp. But on the 24th, there's a little recovery event in Paw Paw, Michigan. If you can make it, you should. It's recovery rallies, or recovery zones, recovery rally. And I'm speaking there. And I have this thing with microphones. I love them. You put one in my face, I'm talking. So I'm pretty excited about that. And we're going to have our tent set up. And we're going to have 217 gear. And it'll just be fun. It's fun to get out. And especially after COVID and everybody being stuck inside, it's just going to be good to get out and see people. So please come. There's details on the app. There's also details on our website, 217recovery.com. Go to events. But pretty excited about that. I really am looking forward to it. Over the weekend, though, I had kind of I wouldn't say a rough weekend, but I had some emotional dealings with, if I can even put it that way. A couple of my buddies reached out, and one, I'm not even sure he was reaching out. We'll get to that in just a minute. The other one just flat up asked me, how do I deal with horrible situations without drinking? And I have no idea. What I do is I take drinking off the table. It's not an option for me. I choose to not drink. I did enough of that in my past, and now I'm living a pretty good life. So for me personally, it's not an option anymore. And something like going to meetings and having a regular schedule of going to meetings, you really start to use the meetings for what you need them for. Like AA meetings, NA meetings, stuff like that. And for me, I use it to get little stuff off my chest. Like something's bothering me, I can get off my chest there. What's said there stays there. So for me, that's what I use it for. So a lot of times it doesn't fester into something bigger because I'll know right away, oh, I need to go to a meeting. It's like free therapy session. I'll throw in $1, so it'll cost me $1 and some gas, but it's so much better than, drinking and the alternative. So for me, I just take the option off the table, but he's dealing with some heavy stuff, man, like family members and death, and it's a struggle. And I told him that he can really help people. And I kind of talked about this last week on the podcast, but he can really help people in ways that other people can't. And it just so happened I had to take a guy today to treatment. And he was not going through, but had been through pretty much the same situation as my friend who reached out the other day. And I told him, I was like, man, like there's something that you guys have that I don't. A lot of people don't. And this guy was telling me that he started using pills when he was a teenager, and that his father was giving them to him. And the whole, hey, I'd rather you do it under my roof than out there in the streets, and I think that's a generational thing. And when I was growing up, it was kind of like, at least with like, hey, as long as you keep the beer in the basement, I go to a friend's house or something, they're like, hey, as long as you're not out drinking and driving, just, have some beers here. At least I know where you're at and you're safe. And I guess, that at the time it seemed like a great idea because at least your kid's there. But in reality, I'm not sure that's a great idea either. I see where the logic is and where the thinking of that came from. But at the same time, I'm not sure if that really works. I'm an example of all that right there. But no, there's so many things though that this guy was going through, and I can't relate. Like I can't empathize. I haven't been in that situation. I can have sympathy, but I can't have empathy for him. And to get down and share those kind of emotions with people say who've lost a loved one, I would have to direct them to somebody else. You know, if someone called me like, hey, you know, I just lost my brother and I've already lost my sister and, you know, my mom died on Mother's Day, you know, I would say, well, here, talk to my friend, you know, because he's been through some of that stuff. And to see that you don't have to drink. And I wish I could have given my buddy better advice besides, you know, what I do is I take the option off the table, you know, because he ended up drinking. And I just wish that I had someone else that I knew that I could have passed him to, you know, not that I'm not trying to pass him off, and you probably understand I'm not trying to say that, but just to help him out with the situation that he was in that I'm not familiar with, you know, and thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. And it's a tough one, man. It's a very tough one. On Sunday, I ran into an old friend. Not ran into an old friend. It was like a scheduled meeting. And here's where it got kind of tricky for me. Because we knew that we were going to meet that day. We knew he was going to be in town. And I show up, and he had been drinking. Which, okay. A lot of people in recovery, especially early recovery, don't want to be around that. Not a lot of people want to be around drunk people anyway. You know, it's really not that fun. But I didn't judge him for it. I know he's dealing with a lot of issues, and that's what he's been doing the last, 20 years. That's how he deals with his issues, is he uses. And he used to be an IV user, and he hasn't done that in a while. I've heard otherwise, but, if he wants to tell me that he hasn't done that in a while, then, I'll take his word for it. But it gets to the point where, well, at least I'm not shooting up anymore. I'm drinking now. And he knows that is a problem as well. And he doesn't just have a beer, oh, I'm feeling sad, I'm going to have a beer. No, it's full-fledged, like he's an addict. And to get rid of those feelings and that pain that he's trying to run from, that's what he knows. So, yeah, I don't judge him at all, man. I've had my share of relapses, but he kind of in the same situation as the other two guys I was talking about has been through a lot of things and I have not, and I tried to tell him, like, look, bro, like, you can help a lot of people, man. Like, if you can pull out of this and show people, look, here's what I did. This is what helped me. And there would be 3 people right there that I could have helped. If someone else comes to me with the same kind of issue, I can say, well, look, call this guy, call that guy, call the other guy. And call them all. What the hell? Might as well. And I think that they would help him. And the feeling that they would get from helping him is a sense of purpose. And having that sense of purpose is something that's really helped me in my recovery this time around. And today, I just so happen, give it up, I have 2.5 years sober. Yes, I know. I have to kind of talk to myself and hit the sound effects myself.
Man.
My co-host is out tonight, obviously. But, yeah, 2.5 years, man. I don't even know where to begin. It's just something that I'm coming up on 3 years, and I remember when I was in sober living, sitting in those rooms, those AA tables, and looking over, and a guy getting a year coin or a 9-month coin. I'm thinking, how in the hell have they gone so long? How are they living life? And here I am, 2.5 years. And I wouldn't change anything. I had to go through what I went through to be where I'm at today, which is, I went through a lot of stuff. I said a lot of bad things to people. I lost a lot of friends, or at least I wouldn't say lost them, but they didn't want to hang out with me. So I guess you could say I lost them, but I didn't care. And in active addiction, I really didn't care. I needed the alcohol. I didn't know why I needed it. I just needed it. It was the only thing that ever helped me, at least so I thought. But it's so awesome to be free from that, man. I just wish everybody in the world could feel this way. Every addict in the world, I wish they could feel this sense of relief. You don't have to be trapped. You don't have to have that ball and chain following you around anymore. And that feeling is something that I never thought I would get. The same way that I thought, I'll never be, somebody with a drug problem. I would never be a person who drinks themselves to death. I thought that would never happen to me. And then I thought it never would happen to me that I would be sitting here 2.5 years sober. I mean, to me, that's just insane. And looking back at the 2.5 years, it's been like 100 years. Like, you remember things, and time goes by so much slower, but in a good way. In a good way, in a much more productive way. But just to be free from it, man. And, people who use, meth or heroin, it's tough. Alcoholism, MFer. It's not easy. None of them are really. But, just hang in there and stick it out. I don't know if... See, I think the difference in some of the choices of the drugs, and my opinion, my personal opinion, and professional opinion as a professional radio broadcaster, is that, like, okay, say for instance me, drinking. That was my substance, alcohol. A lot of people who drink, we say mean, hurtful things. We do really dumb stuff because we want to get alone with our alcohol. People on heroin, I don't really know if they say hurtful things like people who are drunk do. I know that there's a lot of searching sometimes involved in finding their next fix. I've heard stealing happens a lot. Accidents do happen a lot. And, with meth, there's all kinds of things that come along with that, just from appearing crazy, hearing voices, actually frying your brain, and death that comes from that too. But I don't know. I think they're all kind of different in a way that they have different, I don't want to say regrets. They have different bad side effects, if that makes any sense. Things that people that are using them do. And then we turn around, we regret it. And then the only way to get rid of that regret is to use again. And it doesn't get better. It just gets worse. So just know that if you're struggling right now, you're going through it for a reason. Right now, you might not know what it is, but it's not your job to know what it is. It's your job to just get through it and to land on your feet. And if you slip again, get back up. I'm telling you, it's so worth it. Just get back up. Keep going. Don't beat yourself up over it. It does happen. Read about how your brain works. Read about the frontal lobe, and how that is like the door to your basic instincts. And when that's taken over by your drug, they don't really have too much chance, man. But it takes time. Like, say if you have 3 months and you relapse, you have 4 months, you relapse, keep going, man. That clean time in there, your brain is healing. And say you have 9 months clean, or someone who does, and they use, or you use, boom. It doesn't take you back to the 9 months ago. It dings you a little bit. Like if you're playing Mortal Kombat or something, I don't even know why I picked that game, but I'm just saying, you're playing Mortal Kombat and your guy's battling and he gets hit. He loses power. Then you get like a little power booster. It goes back up. Kind of think about it like that. That horrible analogy I just gave you. Think about it like that, and just keep pushing forward, because the longer that you have between you and your last use, it really does make a difference, and it gets easier over time. You might be hearing me going, Corey, it gets easier over time. What the hell, man? It's hard. It's still hard. Why does God hate me? Why is this happening? Is there a God? Yeah, it happens for a reason, man. And like I said, you look back at it one day and go, I had to go through all that. That's how I look at it. Looking back, it's like I had to go through all those bad times. And I was praying, God, like, let me figure it out, please, like, save me. What's it to take? And then I prayed, God, let that be my last drink. And how I pray and how I ask for things are completely different now. And I'm not very religious, but I am very spiritual. And I do believe there's a God, and Jesus is a big fan of mine. He saved my life a few times. So he did it for a reason, and here I am talking on a podcast, and maybe you're listening, maybe you're getting some out of it. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a purpose, because you will have a purpose. You don't know what it is yet. It might be to help your grandson. It's not even born yet. Maybe it's to pass on knowledge to that grandson, to pass to your great-great-grandson. You don't know. It's insane. It's crazy. But there's a reason for it. There's a purpose. There really is. So hang in there. If you're having a tough time, reach out. If you need assistance, if you need help, reach out. I'm here sometimes, but hit me up. Marnie's available. Reach out to recovery coaches. Reach out to, your therapist. If you need to, don't be ashamed. Don't feel like, oh, I just messed up again. Dust yourself off. But, talk to people about it. So you don't get stuck in that crazy circle, vicious circle. It just keeps repeating itself. You got to bust out of that, man. Be free. It feels so good. It really does. Well, thanks for listening tonight, though. I really do appreciate it. If you do want to get in touch, my email, Corey, Corey, at 217recovery.com. Drop me an email. Hit us up on our app, which you can get in the Apple Store, the App Store, and the Google Play Store. We post our podcasts up there, and I swear I'm going to do a better job of posting the old podcasts up there. I think I have like 3-4 months from 2019, like 1 or 2 from 2021 or 2020. So I have to go back and keep loading them. But as time goes by, every episode will be on the app. So just hang in there. It's coming soon. But thanks again for listening. 217recovery.com is the website. And I'll talk to you on Thursday. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. For more episodes plus bonus features, download the 217 Recovery app and support recovery by rating us in the App Store.